You think Italy is all about the Leaning Tower and pizza. Think again. This boot-shaped country is actually a forced marriage. An invisible but razor-sharp line divides the nation, where population density tells a tale of sheer calculation. Look down at the ground. Down south, the roads are quiet and sparse. But cast your eyes north, and you'll be dizzy with a highway network tangled like a spiderweb. Wherever the money flows, the roads follow. The fracture isn't just in the asphalt. The impoverished Southerners seek solace in the divine, immersing themselves in holy masses, and the North, they're too busy with earthly power and the ballots that dictate the future. By 2013, that gap became even more glaring. Voters in these two regions are playing a democratic game, but with entirely different rulebooks. But the harshest truth reveals itself on the Human Development Index (HDI) scoreboard. Behind the glitzy glass skyscrapers is the sound of ambulance sirens tearing through the night. Healthcare, education, everything comes with a hefty price tag, and not everyone can afford to buy in. This map is like a cruel grading scale. The further south you drift, the more the quality of life goes into a freefall. Same flag, same anthems, or why the staggering discrimination? While the North erects concrete blocks of power, Sicily and the South still cling to parched hillsides, even though their scores aren't a total disaster. Put them on a global scale, and they're still doing okay. But painfully, when placed next to their northern brothers or the rest of Western Europe, the GDP picture is a direct slap in the face. Did you know the South makes up a third of the country's territory and population? Such a massive workforce, so much blood, sweat, and tears contributed. Yet the slice of the economic pie they get is pathetically shriveled. It's so bad that Italy's former Prime Minister had to bitterly admit this is the most populous, underdeveloped region in the Eurozone. At its very lowest, it's as poor as Greece, fresh out of its debt crisis. The picture gets even more twisted when we look at jobs. While the North is getting richer, outpacing even the UK and Germany, Southern youth are burying their prime years in a staggering 16% unemployment rate. Unemployment breeds political resentment. This North-South disparity is even deeper and harder to bridge than the old East-West Germany divide. This chasm isn't the fault of a single political term. Mother Nature favored Venice and the North with a golden geographic placement. Geography played favorites right from the dawn of humanity. The Po Valley is flat and fertile, while the South was tossed nothing but the rugged Apennine backbone, hindering every effort to rise up. Look, the North hogs all the perks. A vast, flat plain shielded by the majestic Alps from raging storms. Meanwhile, the South, still breaking its back, carrying rugged, barren hills and mountains. The Po River in the north drifts lazily, calm waters bustling with merchant ships. It's the ultimate money-making machine. The South only has that fractured Apennine spine, blocking all connection. Vast land, cheap costs, megacities pop up like mushrooms across this massive plain, draining population and resources. How can the South compete when digging a single inch of dirt through the mountains costs tenfold? Geographic supremacy sealed the deal. Northern Italy is swimming in fresh water while the South is dying of thirst. Just look at the fiery red patches on this map. Overexploited, water shortage, warnings. The South is drowning in its own thirst, What's the future for a land where water evaporates faster than hope? The risk of running dry is pushing them into a brutal battle for survival. To be fair, the South has ports too, but sadly, they only play the role of struggling transit hubs. Completely out of breath when racing against the giant deep-water ports of the North has the east-west trade crossroads in a chokehold. Ships loading and unloading 24/7. It has risen to become an exclusive gateway, strangling every opportunity for the South to rise. But the most ruthless tragedy has to be this map. Nature cruelly placed the fragile South right on top of a massive fault line, completely engulfed in deadly earthquake warning colors. The North, safe and sound, yet again. All that hard-earned wealth turned to dust by a single tantrum of Mother Nature. Endless economic losses keep them from ever catching a break, perched precariously right under the throat of active volcanoes. Is there any investor crazy enough to throw their money into a place that could turn to ashes by tomorrow? Remember the tragedy of Pompeii. An entire civilization wiped out in the blink of an eye. That threat never went away. Beneath the soil of southern Italy, magma is still churning. A historical disaster could wake up at any second. Even though ash once buried everything, humanity stubbornly rebuilds. Just look at the port of Naples. Construction is suffocatingly dense, right under the jaws of death. Is it pure recklessness, or are they just out of options? The dark shadow of the mafia is what truly destroys from within. Underworld operations extend their tentacles, turning security into a joke and choking the life out of economic growth. Where does all that capitalist funding go? History laid the first rotting seeds of this division way back during the annexation of the Kingdom of Sardinia. They called it unification, but it was essentially a forced takeover. Imposed policies and draconian taxes from the north bled the southern farmers dry. Unable to take it anymore, millions packed up and left. The American dream called, sparking historic mass migrations. The South was drained of its lifeblood, losing its brightest young minds. So what about the massive public investment funds? The budget allocation plans looked pretty on paper, but the bitter reality lies in the actual real-world projects. Half-finished highways, rusted and peeling bridges, waste and corruption have corroded every effort to synchronize infrastructure. A swamp with no way out. Amidst this dark canvas, the turquoise beaches and ancient Roman ruins suddenly became the ultimate lifeline. Flocks of tourists bring a rare breath of fresh air. But here's the harsh truth. Tourism is just a seasonal paycheck. The industrial sector is frail, and small businesses lack the power to innovate tech and create sustainable prosperity. The old script repeats itself. Students pack their bags to study up north and just end up settling there. This brain drain leaves the South with nothing but the fading silhouettes of an aging population. Just when vitality hits rock bottom, a new escape route opens up. A massive relief plan from the European Union. Could this be the magic pill? Billions of euros in recovery funds are being pumped in. Will a miracle actually happen? Millions of tourists flood into Italy every year, but ironically, they only cram together to burn their cash at northern landmarks. The stunning beaches and islands down south remain sparsely populated, like haughty princesses forgotten in the currents of the Mediterranean. The roots of this tragedy weren't planted yesterday. From the ashes of the ancient Roman Empire, the seeds of division were sown. The North quickly seized the moment, breaking off into powerful, autonomous city-states, monopolizing power and setting the economic rules of the game for themselves. Meanwhile, the South continuously became the spoils of war for foreign rulers. Even when Italy championed the word unification, deep down, the South remained trapped in the faded, torn straitjacket of a feudal agricultural system. Look at this bone-chilling contrast. While Southern infrastructure is flimsy and patched up, the North gets showered with cash for magnificent, synchronized development. Clever protectionist policies, labeled national, actually only benefit Northern tycoons, inadvertently locking the South into dependency. When the land turns sour, the birds must fly. Rampant unemployment eventually forced the youth of the South to pack their bags and abandon their homeland. A silent, brutal mass exodus took place, creating an irreversible brain drain. The North was already rich, and now it grows even stronger by swallowing the youth of the South whole. That gap stretches wider every day, forming a vicious cycle with no end in sight. Poverty breeds instability. Instability chases capital away, and the lack of capital only deepens the poverty. Unless a massive earthquake overturns both geography and history, the fate of southern Italy is likely nailed shut, a chess game forever unable to be turned around.